So I've done the unthinkable and got into Twitter. It's surprising how much short bursts of entertainment you can get from there. That said, the news flies pretty fast on Twitter, and with so many new players trying out Final Fantasy XIV, big streamers included, I felt it was a good idea to make this video to say, hey, it's okay if you don't like the game. Your opinion is valid. Here's why I felt the need to make this type of video. I want to dispel a common misconception, especially among new players. While the community is better than most, it's still just like any other MMO community. You're still going to have your bad apples. The big difference is the game is heavily policed by GMs to stop players from harassing others. And if you know anything about the real world, the term harassment ends up being more broad than it actually needs to be. As a result, instead of the Final Fantasy XIV community being your standard toxic, it's just very passive aggressive. For example, instead of saying you're dog shit, they'll instead say, hey, have you tried doing this thing that makes you not dog shit? Smiley face. So now that I explained that, there is a very special exception to that rule, and that's when you're literally anywhere else outside the game. Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, you name it. These are the places where many players go to vent their frustrations and talk mad shit about people. In this case, there is literally no difference between the 14 community and any other one, besides the massive dump of artwork clogging up Reddit. And this is where the main topic of discussion comes in. As most of you probably know, there are some big time streamers jumping into 14 right now. I'm not going to name names because it really doesn't matter. The majority of them are having a good time right now and going through a honeymoon phase, because I guess WoW is just that bad right now. I wouldn't know because I tried it once back in 2006, and couldn't get into it at all, nor do I really want to. But there are some who didn't enjoy the leveling experience at all in 14 and want it out. So let me get this out of the way. It's a known thing that A Realm Reborn, the beginning of the game, is the #1 new player killer. First impressions are important, and A Realm Reborn didn't exactly stick the perfect landing when it first launched. Anyone who isn't fooling themselves is aware A Realm Reborn is a problem. Combat is slow, dungeons are built for 5-year-olds, and a critically acclaimed story isn't presented well and takes years to get the ball rolling. There's two answers that the good people of the community came up for this. The first and main one is to just openly shit on A Realm Reborn and make it widely known as possible that it's the worst portion of the game. Second is to tell people that there's more to do than MSQ, because let's be honest, the MSQ grind is atrocious. It's been an ongoing problem that probably won't ever be fixed. But the game gives you access to multiple levels of side content that gives you a decent break from the grind. Gold Saucer in particular seems to be extremely popular with the refugees. I personally enjoy doing minimum item level challenges for dungeons, which I'll do a video about that in the future, so be sure to like and subscribe to my content if you're interested in that. Shitty plug aside, I'm going into territory that most people don't typically go into when talking about things they don't like about this game. That is anything outside of A Realm Reborn. Now, I've been playing since 1.0, and goes without saying 1.0 was hot garbage. But as a veteran player, I'm going to rapid fire 5 complaints I have about the current iteration of the game. I suggest everyone does this on the comments as well, just to show that there are things to not like about this game. Number 1. The story tries too hard to be a single player game. I say this as a person who legitimately loves the story and aspires his channel to be a lore channel. Base 5.0 is an exception to this, as it's a really well told story. But everywhere else has had this problem where the plot is made out to be more exciting than it actually is. Number 2. Tanks and healers are the worst they've ever been. Yoshi P and the dev team does a lot of things right in this game, but they do a lot of things wrong too. In their conquest to achieve perfect balance, tanks now play like scuffed DPS jobs. Healers are even worse off. Thanks to the neutering of their DPS kits, healers have very little to optimize past progression, and many drop off healer as a result. Something homogenization. Number 3. Blue Mage. Number 4. Final Fantasy XIV boss fights are memorization battles, and in my opinion is to its detriment. Without randomization, tanks will use cooldown the same way, healers will heal the same way, DPS will joust the same way. This is the exact reason why the 14 meta is about the highest DPS, because it's the only effective metric for skill expression. Number 5. The housing system is garbage. Enough said. There's 5 reasons, and that's just a tip of the iceberg for me. In short, there's plenty to not like about 14. But it's often countered by things I absolutely adore. That's just me though. If a new player doesn't enjoy A Realm Reborn, they're under no obligation to push through the rest of the content. It could just not be their jam, and that's completely fine. What many people don't see is there will never be an MMO that fits everyone. This is why WoW Killer is a myth. MMOs no longer require you to spend so many hours per day to make progress, which means players now benefit from exploring the genre and seeing what clicks with them the best. 14 doesn't need every single subscription, nor does it need to be praised to the moon. The people who love the game will remain and move on. That said, it's going to be really interesting once the refugees get past the honeymoon phase. Going by history, if you get past the slog that is A Realm Reborn, endgame is usually when the cracks begin to show and people start making their complaints. I think the years of weak game LOL has given the community some form of PTSD where any negative opinion about the game automatically injects a defense mechanism where they start frothing at the mouth and go batshit insane. So hopefully this time around, things will be better. I really do think the good side of the community can be mature enough to handle their game getting criticized when done well. All it takes is a fair understanding of where the person's coming from. Because remember, your experience will never be the same as anyone else. Let people play how they want, and let them draw out their own conclusions. Unless they happen to buy at Skip, make no effort to do their homework, and then say the game is bad. Then proceed to shit on them. Really hard.